living in the heart of Las Cruces, and we're going to go ahead and get started with a couple of songs. If you'd like to stand, I invite you to. If not, that's fine. We're going to be the Christmas lights in the world today.
I shine so bright, and I shine, and I shine, and I shine so bright. You are a light, you are a light, you are a light in this world. You are a light, you are a light, you are a light in this world. And you shine, and you shine, and you shine so bright. And you shine, and you shine, and you shine so bright. We are a light, we are a light, we are a light in this world. We are a light, we are a light. We are a light in this world, and we shine, and we shine, and we shine so bright, and we shine, and we shine, and we shine so bright, and we shine, and we shine, and we shine so bright, and we shine, and we shine, and we shine so bright. Love myself the way I am. There's nothing I need to change. I'll always be the perfect me. There's nothing to rearrange. I'm beautiful and capable of being the best me I can. And I love myself just the way I am. I love you the way you are. There's nothing you need to do. When I feel the love inside myself, it's easy to love you. Behind your fears, your rage and tears, I see your shining star, and I love you just the way you are. I love the world the way it is, 'cause I can clearly see that all the things I judge are done by people just like me. So till the birth of peace on earth that only love can bring, I'll help it grow by loving everything. I love myself the way I am, and still I want to grow. A change outside can only come when deep inside I know I'm beautiful and capable of being the best me I can. And I love myself just the way I am. I love myself just the way I am.
I love that song. Thank you all. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Center for Spiritual Living here in the heart of Las Cruces. where our vision is a world in loving partnership for the good of all. And welcome home to some of the people we haven't seen in a long time. It's so good to have people back in the building doing well. And it's good to have Will Tuttle and Madeline back in the building after, I don't know, how many years? 10 years? Not that long? 3 years. And their friends that have joined them on their way to Florida. So we are grateful to have everyone here, and welcome to anyone visiting for the first time. But I think aside from our visitors who are traveling with the Tuttles, everybody is familiar with who we are. I want to just remind you that you can find out all the good things that are happening here by reading the newsletter that gets sent out to your email once a week, looking at our website. This is on really loud. Do we need, is it too? Yeah, needs to go down just a bit. Thank you. And Janice isn't here this morning, but some of our decoration team, Doug is here. Who else was? Bonnie Allen Rice and Janice and you. They made this place look gorgeous for Christmas, did they not? Thank them. Yes. What a beautiful job. Both trees are so well balanced. I mean, I love how everything was just organized perfectly. Janice, yeah, and it just looks nice and spruced up for the holidays. So thank you to the team that worked on that for us. I like the way it looks. I just don't like having to do it. So it was a godsend. It was wonderful. And remember that after the service today, you are all invited to stay for our Will Tuttle workshop as well. And you'll hear a little bit more from him about that during the service. And a reminder before we finish up, we hope that you stay. It's a love offering, so bring yourself. That's the main thing, and we will trust that Spirit provides. And to remind you that on Christmas Eve, 3 centers, Unity and Inspirational Ministries and CSL, Center for Spiritual Living, will be doing a Zoom Christmas Eve service. And so you can Zoom in, so be sure to get that Zoom invite again out of the email. And if you don't regularly get the email, call the office so they can send you the invite. And then Christmas Day, we are taking off. Unity will have their service later in the morning from 10:30 to 11:30. So if you would like to come out and be in the building, you can join Unity for their service on Christmas Day. And then on December 31st, New Year's Eve day, 5 a.m., yes, a.m., 5 a.m. in the morning, we will gather here and join around the world, everyone meditating at the same time for world peace. It is the UN World Peace Prayer. And so please join us. If you don't feel like getting out of bed, at least sit up and join us at 5 from bed in meditation for world peace around the world. But we will be here and having some guided meditation that morning. And then afterward, a lot of us go over to the Village Inn for breakfast together. It's a nice time to get together. And then January 1st, the next day, we will have a service at our regular time. We will be doing our Burning Bowl celebration. And we're hoping to burn the note for the mortgage. It's looking good at the same time we do our burning bowl. So we're very excited about that. And then following the service, I will offer to you, as my gift to you, a visioning for your personal experience in the new year. You can vision what your new year is going to bring in for you and create a vision board after the service. So again, bring a little snack, something to eat in between, and we'll have a visioning and a workshop to make your vision boards. And please save the date. The next class we're going to teach is this thing called You, which is one of my favorite books of Ernest Holmes. And we will have wonderful discussion and a good time, and that will start the last week in January, the 26th, Thursdays from 3 to 6, right here in this building. So a lot of good stuff coming. And at this time, please welcome our practitioner in service. We get Lillian as a practitioner today.
Good morning, everybody. Now is it loud enough for me? Miss Boomy back here was doing a very good job of projecting. We believe in the power of prayer, which we call spiritual mind treatment or affirmative prayer. Please fill out a prayer request. They're in the little pockets in the backs of the chairs. And there's a God can in the back, or is it? Yes, it's on the round table there. You can put your prayer request or drop it in the offering plate on the tables as you exit the sanctuary. Or you can still use our prayer request button on our website. Our prayer team is made up of practitioners and ministers from the 4 local New Thought communities, and we will pray with you in regard to your request. And in addition to that, if you have something for which you'd like a quick treatment or affirmative prayer for after service, just seek out anybody who's wearing one of these or Bob. You put it on. And we'll provide this service for you. And also, we encourage you to fill out a gratitude card, because we get in the habit of asking for assistance with things, or to know that our highest good and our highest potential with things, but sometimes we forget to say thank you. And it's really wonderful for everybody to know that those affirmative prayers are working in and through and as each and every one of you. And now it is time for song, silence, and prayer. So I know in this moment there is one power, one love, one great love. And I stand in and as that love, imbued fully with its full potential. And so I know I am here, I am present, I am now. I am love. I'm ready, expectant, listening, loving, and kind. And so it is. The reading today is from one of my favorite books, because I'm the prac on deck, so I got to choose that. It's I Heard God Laughing. It's the poems, renderings of Hafiz by the Daniel Ladinsky translations. This is called Saints Bowing in the Mountains. Do you know how beautiful you are? I think not, my dear, for as you talk of God, I see great parades with wildly colorful bands streaming from your mind and heart, carrying wonderful and secret messages to every corner of this world. I see saints bowing in the mountains hundreds of miles away to the wonder of sounds that break into light from your most common words. Speak to me of your mother, your cousins, and your friends. Tell me of squirrels and birds that you know. Awaken your legion of nightingales. Let them soar wild and free in the sky and begin to sing to God. Let's all begin to sing to God. Do you know how beautiful you are? I think not, my dear. Yet Hafiz could set you upon a stage and worship you forever. So I'd like to introduce our very special guest today. Will Tuttle is a pianist, composer, educator, and author, and has performed and lectured widely throughout the United States and Europe. His doctorate degree, with highest honors from the University of California, Berkeley, focused on educating intuition in adults, and he has taught college courses in creativity, humanities, mythology, and philosophy, which makes him a very good fit with the Center for Spiritual Living in the heart of Las Cruces. He has a broad background in both Eastern and Western meditation traditions and is a former Zen monk, devoted to planetary awakening and to creating uplifting, healing music. I invite you all to welcome Will Tuttle.
So thank you. It's great to be here. I am going to be starting out by playing a piece of music on this great piano that you have here. And I was thinking I would play a piece that was inspired by Ukraine, the people of Ukraine, because I was there in Ukraine right around the time, I guess it was right after I met you, Madeline, in Switzerland in trying to think now. Yeah, that was in 1990. So in 1992, I was in Ukraine giving concerts and lectures on developing intuition. And I was playing the piano one afternoon in the city of Cherkasy near the Dnieper River. And this melody came to me. And it was really, I thought, a beautiful melody. And I have never played it since the whole war and all that stuff publicly at all. And so this will be the first time. So I think it'd be great to just hold in our hearts the people of Ukraine and really the whole planet and all the animals as well, in the heart of kindness and compassion and knowing the truth that there is one life living through all of us. I'd like to just dedicate this piece of music to the healing of all of our relations and to creating and contributing to the field of peace and freedom and loving kindness that surrounds our earth. I call it the truth field, and we can tap into the truth field at any time. So enjoy. Thank you very much. Well, thank you very much. It's great to be back here again after, I'm not sure how long it's been, but a few years. And it's wonderful to hear. Pardon me? 3 years. Oh, Madeline's the authority. About 3 years ago. We were in 2019 maybe. So, yeah, it's great to hear there's 4 New Thought communities here in Las Cruces. You must have a lot of very enlightened people here. And Madeline, as we heard, and I are on a lecture tour right now, a 4-month lecture tour traveling around the United States and spreading as best we can the message of compassion for all living beings. And also the message of intuition. And so we've been coming to New Thought churches for, gosh, almost 40 years now. And it's really great to see and to be part, actually, of this movement. I was born and raised in Massachusetts, in Concord, Massachusetts, and learned to swim in Walden Pond. And went to Thoreau School. I was born in Emerson Hospital. Alcott School, you know. So the transcendentalists, I think, are somehow in my blood. And I know Ernest Holmes was a big fan of Emerson, and as am I, of course. And these people, the transcendentalists, really, they were the first ones to actually start bringing the teachings of Asia into North America. Thoreau had the largest library of books on Taoism and Buddhism and Hinduism and the Bhagavad Gita and so forth, the Tao Te Ching, and these ideas that were kind of radical, really, for our society for back then. For example, of God as male and female, for example, that idea from the Hindu tradition, or the idea of God as principle from the Taoist tradition, very interesting, or from the Buddhist tradition, the idea of God as mind. Now, these are ancient wisdom traditions that really have enriched the New Thought movement that were being brought in by the transcendentalists in Concord back in the day. Concord was an interesting place to grow up because it was the home of the Revolutionary War. Remember that? Do you remember the poem? Hardly a man is now alive that remembers the famous day and year of the midnight ride of Paul Revere. Well, that was big news for us. I mean, that was every April 19th, which is when that happened. We would celebrate that Patriots Day, and we would go down to the Old North Bridge in Concord. My father would take the gun off the wall, you know, dress up in his Minuteman outfit, and all the Minutemen would go down there, and we'd reenact the battle, and we'd send the Redcoats running back to Boston, and we'd celebrate the Revolution. You know, if you have a situation that's intolerable, you should change it, right? I mean, don't live under tyranny. So that was the revolution back then. But then, really, in the 1800s, there was this other revolution, more of a spiritual one, in a sense of bringing in these ideas that were fertilizing in many ways, and I think enriching the tradition that was already here in the West, of the Judeo-Christian tradition. And a big part of it, I think, really is the idea of intuition, right? That we have this capacity within us to connect directly with our internal guidance system. We don't have to have an intermediary. We don't have to go to some spiritual authority to tell us what we should do in our lives. I used to do that sometimes with my Zen teacher. I'd go and say, you know, should I do this or not? He would never tell me. He would say, Will, I think you should meditate on that, and you'll know what to do. Because I think ultimately that's the thing. You know, we are each responsible for our lives. And intuition is the inner guidance system that can help us to connect with our inner wisdom. And I think the most important thing to understand is that we're born into a culture that in many ways has a whole way of being and set of attitudes that are not in our best interest in many ways. There's a great saying by Krishnamurti. He said, it's not a very good idea to be well adjusted to a profoundly sick society. Right? So we have this tendency, we want to fit in, we're very tribal, you know, we're tribal, we want to fit in, we want everybody to like us, and we want to eat the same food and wear the same clothes and get along and think that's more or less the same thoughts and not be different. But at a certain point, we have to be willing to question authority, not only the outer authorities, but the inner authority, and very often it's been planted by very well-meaning people, you know, our own parents and teachers and friends and neighbors and relatives who wanted the best for us. But were, in a sense, had been programmed by their, you know, it goes back, you know, thousands of years. I talk about it in the World Peace Diet, just the whole cultural indoctrination process that happens. And so spirituality, in many ways, is about questioning the indoctrination and connecting with what is true for us. And it doesn't mean when we do that, necessarily, very often it's the opposite, that our lives will be easy and comfortable. We want to have ease and comfort, right? That's what we all aim for. We want technology to give us ease and comfort and take away the bumps and bruises and cold and everything else. But actually, what it does do, connecting with our intuition, even though it does not guarantee an easy, comfortable life, it does guarantee it'll be our life. And that means we'll feel joy at a deep level. We'll be living our life. There'll be a sense of integrity and a sense of living according to the dictates and really the mission and the purpose that we have for this lifetime. And that was one of the ideas that were being brought in also from the East, was the idea that this is not the only lifetime that we have. That's an important point, actually. I don't talk about that very much, but I think, especially during these times, good to remember that we have more than one life. We have, many. What we are is what makes this possible. That's the thing to really understand. And those are just words. There's an old saying in the Zen tradition. As you heard, I've spent many decades studying Zen. One of the main sayings, actually, from Matsu in China, he said, "As soon as I open my mouth, evil springs forth." There's another saying, "If you meet the Buddha on the road, kill him." What those mean, basically, they make it really extreme. But the idea is, if you think the Buddha is somewhere outside of you, on the road somewhere else, kill that thought. The Buddha is what we are, right? And as soon as we open our mouths, in other words, as soon as I try to explain the truth and put it into concepts and words, it's going to get lost in translation, right? You're going to hear me say something. I mean, like the word God, right? If we say God, like if there's 30 people here, there's 30 different gods. We all have our own, it's okay, but that's just, we have to understand that. So the whole idea here is to understand that when we are on a spiritual path, we are connecting with the wisdom that goes beyond words. And what I was saying earlier about multiple lifetimes and that we have a purpose is that what are we? This is the question. We live in a society. I mean, I'll be blunt. We live in a society where every day we are killing billions of animals for food, right? And so those animals are sold by the pound, right? Cows, pigs, chickens, they are sold by the pound. They're just, you wouldn't like it. You would be outraged if someone came up to you and looked at your dog or cat and said, "That looks pretty good. How about maybe $4.50 a pound?" No, I care about, don't think like that. But it's not our fault. We're raised in a society, this goes back thousands of years, where we sell living beings by the pound. So we live in a society that is profoundly materialistic. We reduce beings to matter. They're just matter. You buy and sell them by the pound. That's the reality. It's millions of times every day in the United States. That's happening. That's what's happening. So we're raised in that and we're wounded by it. We don't want to talk about it. We're so wounded by it. But it's not our fault. I'm not blaming anyone. This is the reality. So we live in a materialistic society. So the thing with spirituality is the opposite of materialism. The literal opposite. Materialism is reducing beings to things, reducing a being to an object to be used and manipulated. So when we do that for 10,000 years, which is what we've been doing, as I discussed in the World Peace Diet, then we create a society of materialism, and pretty soon we're doing the same thing subconsciously or sometimes even consciously with each other, right? We're manipulating each other as instruments to get what we want. We try to project a good image on a resume to get what we want. So this whole thing is difficult. It makes spirituality pretty much, it's the opposite of spirituality. Spirituality is seeing a being. And when we see a being, we have a connection, right? We have a connection. We see beyond the matter. This is how we become healers, right? If I just see a thing, an object, but if I see the being that makes that object possible, the infinite eternal consciousness that was never born and will never die, that's what we are. It's not a what. It's not a thing. So, but we're raised in a society where we're things, right? We were born and we will die. And so that matter, that materialism, creates a fundamental sense of anxiety and fear. Because no matter how much we accumulate, no matter what happens, we're going to lose it. There's another old Zen saying I really like. This is a good one. It's like, they say, being born is like setting out on a boat that is definitely going to sink. But here we are. It's guaranteed. The boat is going to sink. But the thing to remember is we are not the thing. We're not the object. So what we are is the eternal life that makes this possible. One of the main symbols, before Buddhism, for example, ever, like for about 400 or 500, maybe 300 years before Buddhism ever really got into the West, it was just more in India, main symbol of Buddhism was the footprint. When they got to the Greeks, they wanted to make statues. A statue, you got to have, well, who is this guy? And make a statue of the Buddha, right? They never thought of that. They never made like a statue of a person. It's got nothing to do with the person. Why would they choose a footprint? Because when you go to the beach and you see a footprint, you're not seeing the being that made the footprint, right? Like you see a footprint in the sand. You don't go up to the footprint and go, well, good morning, George. Yeah, you look a little shallow today. What happened? It's just a footprint. It's not the being that made the footprint. Okay, so right now, it's a footprint waving. You can never see me. We never see each other. We see a manifestation that we pretend is the being. And that's the big mistake. When we see beyond that and see the being, then we start to wake up. We can never do that unless we see it in ourselves. And we'll never, I don't think, really see it in ourselves unless we undertake a discipline to quiet our mind. Because otherwise, our minds are completely overrun by the internal dialogue, and every single thought is me, 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 I like this, I don't like that, I hope he does this, I hope she doesn't do that. What am I going to do when he does that? And I hope they don't do it. But if they do that, then what am I going to do? And what am I going to have for lunch? Our mind, if we look at our mind carefully, it's always revolving around me and the dialogue that reinforces this sense of being a fundamentally separate self. So the whole idea with spiritual practice is we learn to quiet our mind and become receptive. This is the sacred feminine. This is the key, really, to spirituality, is the sacred feminine dimension of consciousness. Whether we are a man or woman, we all have that capacity. I call it in the World Peace Diet Sophia, the ancient Greek goddess of wisdom. All the wisdom traditions, actually, the wisdom deity is always female. It's very interesting. You have Saraswati in the Hindu tradition, Shekinah in the Hebrew tradition, Sophia in the Greek tradition, so forth. And Hagia Sophia, that's really interesting, actually, because in the early Christian tradition, there was the Father and the Son, and then there was Hagia Sophia. The Holy Spirit was feminine in the beginning. They did that. They figured that out. But then a little later, after a couple hundred years, it became the Roman thing, and it was Father and Son and Spiritus Sanctus. That's the male. It's all male. So they lost it, right? They lost the female. And here we are. Look what happened. So the whole idea, though, is to connect with this intuition, which is a sacred feminine, which is what makes, really, essentially, it's directly connected to what makes this outer footprint possible. And when we start to connect with that, then we realize directly that we're not here just to accumulate and prove and have an image, project an image that everybody's going to like so we can get what we want, because our life goes by very quickly. In a few moments, we're gone. That's one thing we can guarantee. We're going to be leaving this body, and it's not far away. I remember when I was so young. I remember this. I was just a kid. I was like 25 maybe, and I was in a class in Chinese, and in Oakland. And I remember the Chinese teacher. She was great. I learned a lot of Chinese. But anyway, she said, if you ever go to China and you ever try to tell people something like you're an authority, and you are not at least 60 years old, they're going to laugh at you. Like, you think you know something and you're not 60? It's like, you're still wet behind the ears. You got to be at least 60 years old before you try to tell anybody anything. And so it was really great when Madeline and I went to China. I've been to China quite a few times giving lectures on the World Peace Diet, but I could always say, I am 60, you got to listen now. It's a good thing I went after I was 60. And I heard an interview with the oldest living human being, a woman. She's 118 years old, and they asked her, what's it like to be 118? And she thought for a minute, and she said, all I can say is it went by really fast. So our life is precious, right? It goes by quickly. That's what I'm saying, because I thought when I was 20 years old, I'm never going to be 60. That felt like never going to happen. I was so far in the misty future, and now it's behind me by quite a few years. So this is the thing. So this is what makes our life beautiful, right? There's nothing beautiful, really, in something that's not transitory. That's why we love flowers, and sunsets, and they're just it's just this beauty, the transiency. It creates beauty, and our lives are transient. Every moment is precious, really. If we understood anything, but we're trained in our society to not see really the beauty around us and the transiency of everything, and the precious quality of life, of relationships, of nature, of children, of all of that. So the whole idea, I think, essentially is to learn to every day question the official narratives that live in consciousness, to have some kind of a spiritual discipline to quiet the mind, find out what that is. And we can talk about it. We'll be doing a workshop on some of these things this afternoon, but the whole idea is to develop this capacity, because the idea is really, in many ways, is like practice. Like if someone, Sarah, sits at the piano and plays this beautiful music, she couldn't do that without practicing, right? And that's what I love about the New Thought movement. It's basically about practical Christianity, practical spirituality, and not just theorizing about things and saying, well, I'm really spiritual, and like how you're living your life. Looking at how we're living. And so we can practice things. We can practice through our food, through our choices of what we're buying, through the way we speak to people, our relationships, our work, all these things. And what intuition does is it connects us with our unique way of living for this lifetime, that we're here for a purpose. And so as I was saying earlier, this isn't our only life, but this is the one for the being that we are at a higher level is manifesting through. And if we can connect with that. I remember when I was in Korea as a Zen monk, and it was so much meditation. That was it. It was just like we'd get up at about 2:45. We had to be in the hall at 3 in the morning, and so we'd be sitting, on the floor. Everything's on the floor. There's no furniture. I mean, that's a totally Western thing. Everything's on the floor. I kind of like being on the floor. I can't fall down from there, So you're sitting on the floor, legs in like full, lotus position, from 3 o'clock in the morning until 9 o'clock at night, right? I mean, it's like all day, and with a few breaks, but basically that's it. And I did that for 90 days with a vow of silence, as an example. But the idea is you're in silence for thousands and thousands of hours, just with the mind, and learning about the mind. There's no greater friend you can ever have than your mind. There's also no greater enemy you can ever have than your own mind. So we better really get to know our mind. And there's no better way than silence. I mean, actually just watching our thoughts. And the thing that I discovered over the years is that when we do that and we begin to get more comfortable with ourselves, because we're raised in a society, like I say, where we're taught never to do that. If someone was to just sit and not say something, or it's like, what's wrong with you? You should be doing something, or otherwise. But if we actually reflect and contemplate and connect with the being that's generating these thoughts and generating the feelings, we find that what we are is actually a space, in a sense, an awareness, an awareness that's not confined to a separate self. It's an awareness that is completely free and really in many ways undamageable by anything in the outer world. It doesn't care if someone criticizes this form, right, or whatever. It's a bubbling spring of joy that needs no reasons in the outer world. There's nothing really that gives us any happiness in the outer world. We are already happiness. Just being spring blooming and being aware and conscious is joy. There's nothing that we can get. I think what we can get in the outer world is being healers and being givers and being kind and loving to other beings and somehow exemplifying that as best we can. Then we will, at that moment when we leave this expression, and after that we will know that we lived our life. We lived our life well, our unique life well. But it does mean questioning the official narratives in our society, which are all designed to cultivate a sense of separation and fear and control. So we're always going to be, in a sense, probably, at least for the foreseeable future, somewhat of a minority, people who are actually authentically on a spiritual path. Because if we're going through our life, typically we're being guided by the cultural program, right? We're doing what we're doing because our parents and teachers and friends. And we may be going to church every Sunday and so forth, but if we haven't actually started following our inner guidance system, our spiritual wisdom that comes from the being that we are, then the spiritual path hasn't actually started yet. It only starts when we're being uniquely guided by our own intuition, our connection with our spirituality. And only we know that, I think, really. That's the thing. This is so intimate, but it's so empowering because we realize eventually that we can see directly our true nature. And when that happens, it's almost like the metaphor that comes to me sometimes is of the sky and the clouds. You have this, perhaps like being born in a country where it's really cloudy all the time. And it's like this, you never see the blue sky. And you just get kind of used to it. And then one day, the clouds part and you see there's this sky, this blue sky. And that's, I think, what happens in meditation with time. When we listen and when we cultivate a positive internal environment and so forth, we can get to the point where we start to glimpse reality or the sky, which is never damageable by the clouds. That's the beautiful thing. No matter how, the big pictures, no matter how cloudy it is and these clouds, they can never damage the sky because it exists in a completely different dimension. And we are the sky. That's the thing to understand, I think. And we're not going to be taught that. You've got to come here and in this community and with these teachings. This is the precious teaching that what we are is the infinite and eternal and self-effulgent sky that's radiant in its true nature. And the clouds are the conditioning of our society that we have adopted. We had to. As little kids, we didn't have a choice. We just take it all on. But at a certain point, if we somehow get our consciousness up above things enough, we can start to realize, there's more to this than just what we've been told on TV and in the typical churches, not by the typical ministers, not Reverend Bonnie, but the other ministers, there's always this sense of being part of something that's conditioned. So I'll go ahead and I can see by the clock I need to wrap it up. So I'm going to just end with this basic idea that the intuitive wisdom that is our true nature is always present. It's the sky. But the clouds are in many ways inflicted by our cultural upbringing. They're here and they're deep, our language, everything. And so but the great news is through our own efforts, we can learn to refine our consciousness and purify it through our actions and our thoughts, cultivating kindness and love in thought, word, and deed, taking time to be quiet and listen, connect with nature. And through that, we begin to see directly that what we are is the source of this manifestation. When we see others Instead of seeing the manifestation, we see the source in them. And when that happens, we become healers automatically. When you see beyond the form and see the being, you're feeding pure truth to another expression of life. And that is a great gift that we can give. We can see beyond the outer forms, the so-called limitations, and see the being. And when we do that, we're blessing the world. And I think when we can come together like this in a community and do that, then it multiplies exponentially. And that's the great gift that we give when we do our own inner work, and then we come together and magnify the inner work by reinforcing it and learning and keeping it going. Because this is the key thing. You know, in the Buddhist tradition, there are the three jewels, which are like the three main pillars of the whole thing. And you probably know them: the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. The Buddha basically symbolizes the inner, maybe in Christianity or in New Thought, the inner Christ, the eternal wisdom, our true nature, right? That's Buddha. Dharma means the truth. And it's the teachings, right? The teachings that help us to awaken the Buddha within that's sleeping. And what the Buddha said, and the Sangha is the community of truth seekers who are working on themselves to awaken the Buddha nature, the wisdom within. And the Buddha at one point said, without the Sangha, the community, there will be no Buddha and no Dharma. That's really important to understand. This community, the CSL here in Las Cruces, is so precious. This is a community focused on spiritual awakening for the benefit of all beings, of bringing the truth. And every generation has a responsibility to continue the Dharma, to continue the teaching. So we are this generation to bring this onward, not let it die out, in the face of tremendous forces of deception in the world right now. So I want to just honor you and thank you, because I know if you somehow found your way through this door, that you've already done a lot of inner work and questioning of the official narratives and connecting and quieting the mind and refining your consciousness and doing the best you can to be a force for healing and love in the face of adversity. And so I want to salute you and thank you for that and for all your efforts. And just know that together we are creating a world of freedom and peace for everyone, that no effort is ever lost. Every effort we make, even if nobody sees it, to just see the best in other people, see the truth in other people and in animals, in all beings. When we do that, we're breaking the spell. And when we break the spell, it's a spell of delusion, then we crack open the egg that has kept us in darkness, and you start to see the sky. It's always there. It's always there. So go forth and multiply the message. And I guess this is where we stop and do the circle. Is that right? So let's please, the practitioners, I guess, make a circle, and we'll just have a short closing prayer, and then I'll play a final piece of music as we wrap it up here. Okay, so let's just take a moment and turn our attention within, and we give thanks for this precious opportunity that we have to be in this sacred space that is sanctified by the yearning that we have in our hearts to awaken to the truth that we are. We give thanks for the teachings and for the inner truth and for the community, for this beautiful earth. We give thanks knowing that we are part of the awakening of human consciousness on this earth at this time, for the benefit of all beings of the past, present, and future. There is one life, one truth living through all manifestations. We are that life. That life is love and peace and freedom and abundance, awareness and creativity and joy. That one life flows through every thought, word, and deed of each and every one of us. And each and every one of us as an expression of life goes forth and connects ever more deeply every single day with our inner wisdom, our inner intuitive guidance system to shine our unique light into the world to bless others and all beings. We give thanks knowing this is so. And so it is. So it is. Thank you very much. And I'll just play a short piece of music. This is called Sky High. Since I've been talking about the sky, I didn't know what I was going to talk about, but anyway, here it is. This is Sky High. And we can maybe just dedicate this to connecting with the sky-like nature of our true mind and to the beings that inhabit the skies, the birds, and I think there's a lot of other ones around here that we can become aware of as we develop our intuition. Enjoy.
Thank you so much for your music and your message. One time again, let's thank him so much. Thank you. Thank you for being here and for sharing your message. And we have so much more to look forward to this afternoon. So that was just a taste of him telling us. Now we'll experience it together during this workshop. So I hope that you all can stay and participate. And thank you again. Absolutely beautiful. And right now we are looking at this concept of as we give out, we receive, and we're thinking about the center and how it is that we might continue to support this community. Thank you for mentioning that, because our focus this month is on community. And that is the Sangha, the part that helps to bring this teaching out into the world. And it is that inner work that we do that we're now bringing. So to support that, this month, 10% of all that comes through the center is moving through us to the Gospel Rescue Mission of Las Cruces. And the Rescue Mission is a nonprofit that provides for basic needs of food, shelter, clothing, and emotional spiritual support during times of unexpected emergencies. All services are free to the recipients that need them. We assist people who have no place to turn and find themselves homeless. In addition to providing food, shelter, clothing, and showers, the Rescue Mission helps people in need of emotional support and spiritual support by providing volunteer opportunities, encouragement, and time for people to gain confidence, direction, and a foundation to get back on their feet. Clearly a mission that we are grateful to support. And so 10% of all that comes through here is going to support our Las Cruces Gospel Mission. So know that anything you give just keeps on giving, as they say. It just keeps on. It's part of the flow. It's part of the good. So let's say our affirmation together. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, God, in me. And as we've been doing since we've gathered after the COVID situation, the plates are in the back, and on your way out, you just drop it in. We're not passing things hand to hand. So I appreciate anything that you are giving. And the workshop is a love offering for Will this afternoon. So just know that we want you there, regardless of what you can drop in the plate to support them on their journey from here to Florida. And now let's sing, I Am So Blessed. And I feel like we are very blessed today by the message and just being able to gather in community. I thought of the Ukraine, and I was hoping that that music carried our love and that somebody felt a little spark in their heart this morning, that they knew that they were being thought of and sent the love. So let's sing, I Am So Blessed.
So blessed, I am so blessed, I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed, I am so blessed, I am so grateful, I am so blessed. I am so blessed, I am so blessed, I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed, I am so blessed, I am so grateful, I am so blessed, I am so grateful, I am so blessed. And don't forget, our practitioners are here to pray with you after the service, and let's just move right into our closing song, the peace song. Again, seeing that love and peace surrounding the earth.